everybody, it's your girl Am, and I'm back for Women's History Month. As you can see, I have two lovely guests with me. And this segment, we're actually just going to do a girl talk. In the last couple of episodes that we've done, it's been more panel-based, so I decided to do something that's more relaxed, more chill. And if you're a girl watching this, if you want to leave any comments, feel free, but just know that we said what we said. And before we get started, I want to allow my guests to give an intro of who they are, where they're from.
What's up, y'all? My name is Sophie. I'm from the Bronx. Shout out to all of the women around the world, but specifically our Black and BIPOC folks. Happy International Women's Her Story Month, and I'm excited to be here.
Hey, I'm Kiana. I'm from Linden. Happy Women's Month.
So before we get too deep in today's topic, I wanted to start off by bringing up something that we actually talked about in the single segment. So in the single segment, we talked about relationships, monogamy, dating, and today I wanted to touch a little bit back on that because I felt like there were some things that we weren't able to fully discuss. But to start, we want to talk about cheating in relationships. So the first question that I want to ask y'all, because I think that this question is kind of like controversial. So is having sex while on a break considered cheating?
Just throwing it in right there. We're gonna start off up here.
We're gonna start there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, maybe we should start by defining.
Yeah, I was about to say,
is.
what's the break?
We'll start by defining what a break is. So a break to me is you're in a relationship and maybe y'all had an argument or whatever, and y'all both decided that you want to take some time to recoup. And this break could be, let's say, like a break to me could be like a few days. It doesn't necessarily have to be weeks. It doesn't necessarily have to be months. It also depends on the type of situation it is. But ideally, a break to me does not mean we broke up. A break to me means that we're taking time to recoup, get our thoughts together. Maybe we've been under each other for a certain amount of time and it's caused us to feel like we're suffocated, whatever the case may be. But if I say, or if we agree that it's a break, it doesn't mean we broke up. And I think that's where the miscommunication comes from. I feel like, and like with some guys in certain relationships, they feel like, and I'm not just putting this on the guys, but it's Women's Month. So I feel like guys automatically think like, okay, it's a break. That means it's okay for me to sleep with somebody else, or that means it's okay for me to flirt with this girl or comment under her pictures with her eyes or whatever. So that's what we're defining to be a break. So in that type of break, is sleeping with somebody else considered cheating to you?
Well, I don't define break in the way that you just defined it. And I think that the first place that we need to start is that a break is a mutual agreement between you and your partner. Mm-hmm. If whatever the two of you decide that break is, and as somebody who is in a relationship who has been on a break, like my partner could have slept with somebody else. That was something we mutually agreed with. You could actively talk to somebody else because we mutually agreed on like what the terms of our break was going to be like. So I think, and to your point, Kiki, like I do think that beyond just having the mutual agreement, y'all are not broken up. Right. However, that is why it's even more important for the two of y'all to kind of have some guidelines as to what your break is going to be like. And even within those guidelines, like the point of the break, if it is for space means that potentially exploring other people, other options, other opportunities. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be dating, having sex, or talking to other people, but space can mean that I'm not talking to you. Yeah, I'm literally not talking to you. So I think like when I think about a break in that sense, if you, in the sense that I described it, no, but in the way that you described it, Amber, if the two of you didn't mutually agree on like what that break was, if somebody did sleep with somebody else, I think that is a form of cheating.
Yeah, that is true. I agree.
Because the thing is, if there's no communication, and I always bring up communication in every segment because I feel like that is the root of whether the situation is going to go left or if it's going to go right. Because if you're on a break with your significant other and nobody says that, okay, within this break, I want to focus on me. I want to try to figure out if this relationship is really what I want for me. If doing that is me hooking up with somebody else, I'm pretty sure you would want to know that, and I would want to know that. But I don't know if it's the petty side of me, but to me, if you feel like you need to take some time away to be with somebody else, and like you need to still dibble and dabble, like why are you even with me?
Good point.
That's the way I see it. So if we're taking a break, then no, like I don't feel like you should be sleeping with anybody else, because if that's really the issue that we're dealing with, that you feel like you need to be with somebody else, then why are we even together? So at that point, I don't feel like that's a break. I think it's a breakup.
Yeah.
And if we find our way back to each other, it'll be that. But if not, then we won't.
That's a good point.
That's why I don't like breaks.
Yeah.
You open doors for you to explore. Just break up.
And even to the communication side, like, it's Women's History Month. It's Women's History Month. So, yes, we're coming for the guys in this episode. But when it comes down to that, I feel like women, it's always up to us to have to like verbalize that in a relationship. I don't feel like guys are as in tune with their emotions to be able to verbally tell us without just doing something stupid or without texting another girl or flirting with another girl. I feel like women, we are more prone to being that one to say, like, look, I've been thinking, or I've been talking to my girls, or something in my gut is just telling me like something is not right. But I feel like guys, they're more prone to just like letting things just be what they are. And if you complain about it, then it'll be talked about. But if not, then it's like you end up months and months and months, years, however long down the line in a relationship where, you know, you're just in the same spot basically. You're in a stagnant position. But yes, definitely I'm blaming the guys when it comes down to communication on that whole break scenario. Have you guys ever had to be the one to initiate the break in a situation?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And what was that like? Did you feel like was it a situation where you felt like if you didn't bring it up, it wouldn't have came up, or do you think it was more on the mutual side, like you guys were both feeling like it needed to be done? That's
a good question. I think it was when I brought it up, it was a surprise. Like, wait, what? And I think going back to your point is, I think oftentimes, especially depending on like how long you've also been with your partner, like there could just be disconnection and one of you notice it and the other one doesn't, even if you are bringing it up or whatnot. And in my case, like there was definitely disconnection where when I was just like, I think we need to take a break, it was just like, what do you mean take a break? Like, where's this coming from? And then after kind of spelling out the patterns as to why like we needed a break, it clicked. Like oh snap! Like I didn't see it from that perspective. And sometimes maybe it doesn't snap either too. And I think that's also like a push for a break. I do also agree with you that like I think that for a lot of the times, personally speaking, like it's always the woman who has to take initiative to point out things. And I don't necessarily think a break means like it's the end or things are necessarily like horrible, but maybe that is a time for you, like you said, like to recoup. And the other person, you know, sometimes doesn't see that, and that it could be really hurtful. It's really hard to take a break from somebody that you truly, like you love that person and you care about them, and it definitely is not an easy thing to say or to do. And I also feel like the last part of that too is just like, I think that women take on much more of the brunt of it. Like, not only do we typically have to initiate the break, we also have to deal with the overthinking that comes with it, where we're dealing with our feelings and also still thinking about you. Right. So it definitely is. It's extremely hard to think about. It's extremely hard to do. It's extremely hard to navigate. But if it's necessary, I think that it should absolutely happen.
You know what I think makes it harder when family's involved?
Ooh.
I think that makes it so much harder because not only do you have to deal with this person, it's everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing if your friends are, like, your friend group is comfortable with that person, but it's like when your family, because now you got to deal with if your mom know, like your mom's asking about X, Y, and Z, your sister, your
brother,
whoever,
right?
So whoever was in that pattern, that rhythm of you two being together, it just makes it so awkward, especially when it's like you guys are still trying to figure out what's going on.
Right.
So it's like I've been in a scenario like that before, and to be honest with you, it's kind of like, I don't want to say that this is for every situation, but I think you kind of just take it with a grain of salt. Like if it's a situation where you feel like maybe it's time for y'all to just part ways, I think it's on you whether you want to just completely cut ties with the family. But then it's like, what if their family's the one that's reaching out to you? Like, what do you do? Do you break up with the family too? Or do you just like,
I'm breaking up with the family too. I'm breaking up with everybody.
I don't know.
That's a really good question.
It is a good question, but yeah, you have to cut ties.
I think when a breakup happens, I definitely think that appropriately, you should technically break up with the family, but then it depends on the type of relationship y'all have from the beginning. Because if you and the family weren't like tight, like calling each other, hanging out and stuff, I don't think it's like completely necessary to make it known, like, look, I'm blocking you off this, don't call me, don't do it. I feel like to that point it could be extreme, but if it like, what do you do though if it's like on some, you and the mother were like tight, or like you and the sister were tight, like what do you do in that scenario?
You don't have to cut the mother off. I mean, if y'all was already tight, y'all could stay tight. But if y'all didn't have a relationship, cut her off.
But then that could be messy though, because mothers know, like at the end of the day, even if you and, say for an example, you're dating somebody and his mother knows, like in her mind, she has you as the woman that was supposed to be with her son. Like she mapped out y'all future. She mapped out what her grandchildren were gonna look like.
I'm crying.
And she's like, she had it in her mind, and she's the one that doesn't let go. At that point, it's like, that's why I said it depends on how you want to address the situation, because.
So what happens when he bring home his new girlfriend?
Boop, there we go, right there.
That's true. But here's the thing, and this is also dependent on the type of mother, type of person she is, because mothers play both sides.
Exactly.
Regardless. Mothers are going to play both sides. Mothers are going to be there for whoever their son is there with, but at the same time, I think it still falls back because mothers can play both sides. Like maybe one minute, the girlfriend seems like she's everything she wants for her son, and then when she do something, it's like, oh, well, I want you back with such and such. She keep bringing up such and such.
Right.
You never really know.
True.
Mothers can be messy. And
yeah.
Just a sidebar, because like I know with my brother, and I hope he's not watching this, or anybody he dealt with is watching this, but like him and his ex-girlfriend, they were together for a long time. And my mom, she's the type, if you bring multiple people, she gonna call somebody the wrong name. And 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be on purpose.
Ooh.
So that's the type of person that my mom is. So it's like for her, when she she was really stuck on one of my brother's ex-girlfriends. And like, in a sense, I kind of felt bad for my brother and whoever else he was gonna bring home, because I'm like, yo, like he's not with her anymore. You can't really hold this new girl to that standard, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I just think it could be messy when family members are involved.
That's why I fully push for, if we breaking up, and I look at things in situations like that very black and white, there's no middle ground for me. It's either we are together or we are not together. We not playing dolly house and trying to make up, going back and forth. And don't get me wrong, like I've definitely have done that before or whatnot, but I think that if we do goes back to like the communication, if we mutually agree to break up, like that's what we're deciding to do, I think that also means that you're breaking up with each other's families. I don't think it necessarily needs to be something like the cutting off can look and feel different. Like maybe I don't necessarily think about like blocking. Like my exes still follow me on social media and I follow them. I'll be like liking their pictures and shit like that, posting things like that. But you know what I mean? Like I still comment like happy birthday because I know that like that part of my life is already passed, and because I'm secure, right? Like I'm secure in myself in my relationship to the point where like it's not anything, you know what I mean? But I definitely have been in a situation where with one of my exes that I loved his like nieces and nephews, like Christmas gifts, birthdays, I'm always there, and it was really difficult for me when we decided to break up. Like it was hard for me to not reach out to them, but I think, again, just going back to the communication part, like, he was very specific, which is like, do not reach out to my family. And I had to respect that at the end of the day. And also, like, when you want to move on, when you do eventually move on, it's going to be really difficult for you to do that if you're still talking to your ex's sister, cousin,
mother.
I would even go as far to say, like, if you feel like if you feel like talking to them is going to get you in any issues or whatnot, I don't care if sister does your hair, your nails, your makeup, and she's bomb or whatever, auntie be cooking and give you the discount, you got to let it go. Because, like, saving that peace is more important than having to deal with any, like, oh, so the shoulda, coulda, woulda, all the what you doing late night tech, it ain't even worth it.
And it's out of respect for whoever's next. Or
right,
current,
right,
It's
right.
out of respect for that person, because one point that I like to make is, I think that just for your own peace, for your own sanity, you should close that door.
Yeah.
But then also, to add to that, out of respect for whoever you're with now, like, there's nothing that turns me off more than, like, dealing with somebody and they're like, their ties to their past, like exes specifically, is like there. Because at that point, it's like, whether it's you and their sister, you and their friends, whatever, it just makes it seem like you're holding the door open for something. And while you may genuinely know in your heart that this person doesn't want to deal with that person from their past, it's just kind of like that. Everybody always, it's like, what's that mean? Like, when the guy left the guy texts the girl, like, oh, you left your bobby pin. Like, just to make, just pettiness. For a reason to come back. Like, literally just for a reason to come back. So I feel like having those ties are kind of like that way to be like, look, X, Y, and Z happened.
Here's
like,
the door.
Yeah, it just leaves the door open. So, like, you know, and I can't be a hypocrite either, because the whole family thing, like, my ex, like, his mom, like, we were like this, like, during the relationship and even after. So, like, eventually I had to kind of just, like, you know, wean my way off. But like Kiki said, like, the relationship that we had, it was aside from him. Like, every time we would talk, it was never, like, I wouldn't even bring up anything to do with him in our conversation. It was more like a respectable woman. Like, I respected her as a woman, you know, and it was
like that.
I could definitely see that being difficult.
For that, I think that was the only time in my life I've only had 2 other relationships aside from the one I'm in right now, but, like, that was the hardest thing, I feel like. But going back to my other point, when you don't take the necessary steps to cut those ties off, it does kind of make it seem like, you know, because even if you and that family member have an understanding, like, you know, y'all relationship has nothing to do with that ex, the ex could probably just feel like, oh, well, she's
still coming around.
She's still coming around. I can still, and then now, depending on how often y'all talking, now the ex still knows your business. You done moved on, your ex know your business still. It's just so much that comes with that baggage that I feel like you should just
cut it off.
Cut it off.
Just cut it off. Ladies, cut it off. There was something that Drea Mitchell said. Y'all know who Drea is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drea said something a few years ago, and it's basically about a hoe expiration.
How did I know you was going to say that?
So
I'm dead.
I don't remember her exact words, but she was basically saying that, like, after a certain amount of time, whether you were a hoe for 10 years, hoe for however long, after a certain amount of time of not being a hoe, you're not a hoe anymore.
She said your wholeness can be deleted.
Yes, your whole status can be deleted.
I'm
So
right.
I want to know how y'all feel about that. Do you think that after a certain amount of time, that your whole status can be erased? And I want it to be messy. I want to throw in religion, because a lot of times people, they change their life over. Whether it be turning Christian, turning Muslim, whatever, a lot of people, you know, they do the whole 360. So how do y'all feel about whole deletion? And whole expiration?
Not the whole deletion.
It sound like you cleaned up your credit. Like,
I mean,
it's deleted.
whole deletion. That's funny.
so, like, say for an example, you were in a whole phase, and this could be after a bad relationship, whatever. And you decided that, you know, for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, you're going to calm down, slow it down, focus on get your life back on track. Do you feel like at that point your slate is, like, clear?
Yes. I mean, if I change my life around, who are you to bring up my past? Like, what I did back then, I'm not doing now, so that should be the only thing that matters. So I feel like, yes, your wholeness can be deleted as long as you stay on that route. You can't be like, oh, my wholeness deleted and then go back. No, that's not how it works.
Because somebody can easily say, like, once a hoe, always a hoe.
That's true in a way, but I don't know.
What do you think, Sophie?
Two things. I'm pro hoe, first of all. And as a reformed hoe, like I like to talk about myself, I definitely do agree with Kiki.
Yeah.
I think that there's two things I kind of mind. For me, like, I definitely don't want to consistently be like judged based off of my past, especially if I'm taking active steps in my life to, I don't want to say correct, because I don't look at hoism as a problem, as necessarily like a negative thing. I think the connotation typically is negative for women in particular, but I think that once if you take the step forward and you like, you know, you are no longer dabbling in wholeness, then yeah, like your whole debt is cleaned up. Like you're not a hoe anymore. But I also think about the interesting like aspects that people define as hoism in the first place, where people who are sexually liberated, who enjoy sex and pleasure and are liberated, they don't give two craps what people think or say about that, tend to fall into the bucket of being a hoe. So I'm thinking about even like personally myself, who's as someone who self-identifies as being sexually liberated, like I'm pro hoe. I'm a reformed hoe. Like I'm gonna tell people like, yeah, I'm a hoe. Yeah, that was me in my like back then or whatnot. But I don't see anything necessarily like wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that. And I think that for a lot of people, a lot of women specifically, like their sexual liberation gets either taken away from them or they don't even get a chance to fully explore that,
right,
because they don't want a title slapped as hoe on them, where it's just like, and now you may be missing out on beautiful years of you learning
or
pleasure.
A relationship for you.
Right.
Exactly.
Or even in relationships that you don't even necessarily want to be in, because you're not being pleasured in a multitude of ways, because you are more concerned about this title of being called a hoe versus being like sexually liberated. So that's like the difference that like I just want to name there. But yeah, if you know, whether you decided to become Christian, you take the bar, you become a doctor or whatnot, if you, whatever path you decide to take, we're not judging your past, sis. You get your whole card revoked. You good.
But you know what I wanted to bring up before I lose my train of thought? Since we're talking about that, I feel that there are double standards when it comes down to the whole phase. Because I feel like males go through a whole phase without it being called a whole phase. And I feel like when they do that, like, you know how they say, like, males, when they get to the age of 30 or when they're pushing 30, then they start to want to settle down a little bit.
Because their frontal lobe is still
developing.
Because your frontal lobe is just developing at 27 to 30, while women as 23 to 25. Just...
But I don't like that that's such a double standard, because, for one, like, of course, no. I remember what I was going to say. Before I lose it again. Okay, rewind. All right, so back to what you were just saying. I had this thought about the whole situation. I feel like even going into relationships and when you're dating guys expect for women to know all of these whole things, these whole tricks in a bed, and then want somebody who is like fresh, like a fresh version, never had sex before. How does that work?
That doesn't exist.
It don't work.
Explain to
It
me how
doesn't
that
work.
It don't work. It
don't.
doesn't.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have like multiple partners, but it's just like, how can you expect for a woman? There's only so much that porn can teach you.
Porn is not real, first of all.
Right? So much
porn not real.
Sex scenes in the movie, like it's all like made for show. So
Exactly.
how do you really expect? Because if you really think about it, I feel like women, we accept guys more that are like less sexually fluent, while men they look for women who are like advanced. And just to touch on something slightly, I don't know if it was a post that I read, but how women complain that guys end up wifing the hoes. Like, I don't know about y'all, but there's a lot of girls I went to high school with, like a lot of them are wifed up and a lot of them are hoes. Like, I'm talking like bodies on bodies on bodies, like in high school. High school, and these women are wifed up. But then you really think about it, and it's like guys are quicker to wife up these type of women.
My answer to the first part of your question, and I'm gonna look all of the gentlemen and ladies in the face when I say this, sexual liberation needs to happen for men too. If the peen is whack, the peen is whack.
Period.
And I'm finna tell you, The peen is whack. So just like the expectation for women is supposed to come in and we supposed to know how to, you know, sit on it and get crazy and do this and do that. Facts, like the expectation is for you too. And I think that goes back to like what you brought up earlier, Amber, around like, that's why it's so important for both parties, but I'm really specifically focusing on women. Like, you need to be able to understand your own body. You need to know what it feels like, where your spots are, how you like it, what things turn you on, turn you off before you let in, you know, somebody else come in and define that level of pleasure for you. That's the biggest problem is I think a lot of women, whether you're in a situation or not, allow men to be the ones to define what their pleasure is. And then we don't speak up because of all of the, for a multitude of reasons. Like, we don't say anything because we don't want to rock the boat, or I don't want to hurt his feelings. No, hurt his feelings, sis. Hurt his feelings. There's no reason why you need to be going home and using using your vibrator after you finish smashing. You know what I mean? And if that's grounds for you to move on and end your relationship, do that too. But, you know, in 2021, I really want women, specifically Black and BIPOC women, to make the commitment to stop having whack sex with whack dudes, with whack dick and whack tongues. Like, leave them. And vice versa, dudes. If you're not going to explain to a woman or even teach, like, I really, like, shout out to the men who are not afraid to talk openly about what their sexual pleasure is. And for a lot of dudes who have, like, personally asked in the past, like, so how do you like things? They can't tell you.
They can't tell you, nope.
They can't tell you.
It's just you do it and it's
right.
Then you do it
right.
and like, oh,
they can't tell
that.
you.
Yeah.
They listen to, and, you know, they listen to all this stuff they watch porn, and this is the facade that they're created to believe that this is what their experience should be like. And as women, we also embody that. Like, we need to be on some Meg Thee Stallion. We need to look like this Instagram model. Our bodies need to look like this when we're having, are you? Okay.
No,
okay.
You know, I'm not gonna lie.
My knees don't work like that.
Right. My knees don't work like that. Like,
my knees don't work like that.
You gonna hear crick.
I'm tired.
But what I was gonna say was, like, while the guys are to blame, I think women, we also do kind of have to take accountability for the times when we did lie and act like we did come, or like something was, like, I'm not gonna, like, if you, and the women listening, y'all gotta back me up, because some of y'all gonna be lying, but it is what it is. Like, women, I feel like we fake it most of the time.
We do.
To stroke their ego.
Period.
We do it to make them feel good. We do it so that we don't seem like we're hard to please. And I feel like for so long, and even like currently, it still happens. Mm-hmm. Now, you faking like you came or whatever, that could be for your own reasons. It could be because you're tired, you had a long day. This time it was for him and not for you. But I think ultimately though, like, women, we do kind of have to take the blame, because we are the reason why some of these guys have these like
big egos,
these huge egos, because they feel like they're doing something, because we're not able to verbally communicate like, nah, it wasn't it, chief.
Yeah.
Okay. It didn't do what it was supposed to do.
Big thing, and for just moving forward forever. And even when we talk about sexual health, if you can't talk to the person who you're having sex with about sex, you should not be having sex with them. I don't care if that's your man, that's your side piece, that's, you know, the dude that be burking you out. No. If you cannot openly say, I don't like this is, or I like this, with the person that is, you know, that's not. And we need to break that. Going back to what you said, like, we need to definitely break that stigma starting like right now. Like that needs to be open conversation from both sides, but specifically for women, like, you have to be protecting yourself in all aspects. And that includes telling your partner what you like and what you don't like.
I saw a post. It was on this page I follow on Instagram. I think it's like a Black Love page or whatever. And it was saying that couples who talk about their sex life end up having like a very, very healthy relationship. And I think that is so dope. And of course, to some people, talking about sex, you probably think you gotta have like this whole intellectual conversation. But it's just like, no, you sit and you talk, like, you know, I enjoyed when you did that. Like, next time, don't do that.
Yeah, right.
and you just, you know, communicate that.
Don't do
less of that. I'm done, but facts, Amber, facts.
No, but really, I do think, like, just because of what you were just also saying, so if you aren't having those types of conversations with whoever you're having sex with, whoever you're in a relationship with, who you're dating, courting with, whatever, because people get all the way down the line to marriage, and now they're going to sex therapy. They're going to all of these sex counseling courses, trying to figure out why their wives are not pleasing them, why their husbands are not pleasing them. And to be honest with you, I think it really just starts with that conversation. It's awkward maybe for some people to have that conversation, but like you said, if you're going to be having sex with that person, if you're going to be opening up your body and
don't be butt naked in front of somebody.
Like, hello.
Right, you need to say something.
Yeah, I think I would strongly urge that conversation to be had, because like, for all you know, you've probably been with somebody for like 5, 10, however many years, and haven't even tapped into like what y'all sex life could really be like.
Right.
So, but stay tuned for part 2 next week. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Before you click off, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you haven't already, make sure you go back and check out all our past episodes. And in the future, if you want to hear any specific topics from me or extra guests on the show, let me know in the comments. Or if you aren't already, make sure you are following us on Instagram. The Instagram is AmIGrownYet. The link will be down below. And I hope to be hearing from you guys soon.